Hello, my name is Dietmar Dörschlag, and I'm a certified business consultant with Valiantis, and we are the largest global platinum solution partner focused on the Atlassian ecosystem. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I like to talk about Atlassian administration roles, specifically the role of product administrators. This is the second of a three-part video series in which we dive into the very important aspects of administering Jira and how various administration roles in Jira, Confluence, Jira Service Management work together for the benefit of the end user. Now, in a previous video, I briefly touched on the Atlassian ecosystem. We mentioned that there are many different products that work together across the Atlassian house, so to speak, that allow users to collaborate with each other, that allow teams to get the most out of this awesome collaboration tool. We then covered the important topic of three administration roles, namely the org admins, which was the content, the purpose of a previous video, project and space admins, and product admins, all for the benefit of end users who use the Atlassian toolsets. The purpose of this video is to take a deep dive into the role of product admins. Now, in an earlier video, we had talked about the org admin, which is the highest role in the Atlassian ecosystem. They have the most power. We emphasize that org admins are responsible to manage users and groups. They manage products, product access, anything related to billing, security, access settings, licensing, and various site settings. They are really the prerequisite for product admins to work together. So in this video, we're now diving into the role of product admins. What do product admins do? At a high level, they manage the setup, the creation of new projects and new spaces in Confluence. Projects obviously relate to Jira and Jira Service Management. Spaces are collaboration spaces to create shared knowledge in Confluence. Product admins also deal with the archiving and deletion of projects and/or spaces in case they're no longer needed. Product admins also create shared configuration schemes which are mapped into projects and to a lesser degree mapped into Confluence spaces. And finally, they also deal with global product settings, which they can control which have overarching foundational implications on the use of those products that they administer. So without any further ado, let's dive in and let's start specifically with the role of the Jira and Jira Service Management product admin. So in an organization that I spun up, I created an instance that has access to Jira, Jira Service Management, and Confluence. So let's specifically talk through what a Jira admin does. So from the top right, I'm navigating into the settings cog, and I would go down to global settings, the system settings. So the Jira admin is responsible to maintain certain global-wide system settings. What are they and why are they so important? So for example, a Jira admin defines project roles. They set up project roles, which of course are then mapped into permission settings. So it is the Jira administrator that defines and sets up project roles and then decides what those role members can do in Jira. Jira administrators also set global permissions. So via global permissions, we have some very powerful settings. For example, to give users with that permission the ability to browse user directories, browse groups, to share dashboards and filters, to manage group filter submissions, make bulk changes, create team managed projects, so to turn on or off the ability to create team managed projects. That is all the responsibility of a JIRA product administrator. Now they can set up issue collectors. They are responsible to set up global automation rules. So if an automation rule, which is a very powerful and very useful concept in JIRA, is not only limited to one specific project, it's global in nature. It has to be set up by a JIRA administrator and cannot be set up by a project administrator. They set default user preferences. They create the default dashboard. They define the look and feel of your JIRA instance. They would create and manage announcement banners. They would set up global mail settings related to the JIRA product only. They would handle outgoing and incoming mail settings. They would deal with settings related to attachments, events, webhooks. So there are certain global system settings that the JIRA administrator handles. This is the first and very important aspect of their role and can only be granted, or this responsibility can only be undertaken if you have JIRA admin privileges or permissions in your instance. The next aspect that the JIRA admin deals with is the setup of shared configuration schemes, which are then mapped into projects. So if from the configuration, the cog, the setting, I'm navigating down to issues, you will see a number of settings that the JIRA administrator sets up, and they are very consequential in JIRA. The setup of issue types and issue type schemes, the definition of subtasks, whether or not subtasks are even allowed in your JIRA instance, the setup of workflows and workflow schemes, which will then be mapped just as issue types into projects, the setup of screens in screen schemes, which are then mapped into projects, the setup of issue type screen schemes, the definition of how screens should behave depending on the type of issues that a user has when they create an issue, the setup of custom fields and the behavior of custom fields via field configuration and field configuration schemes, which are mapped into a project, the setup of priorities, priority schemes, the setup of or the definition of statuses, resolution, issue security schemes to handle the more granular security at the issue level, the setup of notification schemes and permission schemes. All those settings are controlled by a JIRA administrator, which will then be mapped into JIRA projects. Lastly, in JIRA, the responsibility of a JIRA project or JIRA administrator is the creation of projects. So if I'm navigating down from the settings cog to projects, the JIRA administrator creates new projects. This cannot be done by a regular user. A JIRA administrator creates new projects, and they then map the schemes, the other settings that we have just discussed, into those projects. And in doing so, they ensure the consistent use of JIRA in that particular instance because they're all mapped to shared configuration settings. Thank you very much for joining me today. I am going to cover the role of a JIRA Service Management Administrator, a JSM Administrator, in a subsequent video. Thank you. Stay tuned for the next video. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. My name is Dietmar Dörschlag, dietmar.dörschlag@valiantis.com. If you have any questions or if you are looking for other information, just search our YouTube channel. We always post relevant content related to the Atlassian ecosystem. Thank you so much and have a great day.